Disculpen por interrumpirles el coffee break, pero hay que decirlo francamente, uno de los objetivos de este evento es justamente el networking. Entonces, si se está haciendo un buen networking, pues yo creo que el cielo puede esperar. ¿Sí? La sesión que sigue es una sesión inspirada en un tema que para nosotros es muy importante y que espero que para ustedes también lo sea, que es la productividad. O sea, nuestro tema central, ¿no me están escuchando bien? ¿Ahora sí? A ver, ahora sí mejor. Nuestro tema central que sigue ahora es la productividad. Ayer alguien me hacía una pregunta en el corredor diciendo, ¿cuál es un estándar de productividad en términos de cuánto una arrendadora debe gastar normalmente en gastos operacionales sobre su total de ingresos? ¿Cuál es el porcentaje? Y la verdad es que me la puso difícil para contestársela en ese momento. Busqué las estadísticas que uno encuentra en los referentes, los más importantes, los de Estados Unidos, y encontré que la respuesta que había dado era más o menos adecuada, del 3 al 4%. Pero viene esta mañana José Alfredo y nos muestra que está en el 1.5%. Entonces, bueno, eso nos está diciendo mucho con respecto al tema de la productividad. Y lo que motivó precisamente dentro del tema que tenemos de esta conferencia de aprovechar los desafíos que tenemos hoy en día, los hablamos ayer, es la tecnología está avanzando por un lado, pero por otro lado nosotros ya nos estamos volviendo viejos los que estamos aquí. Y en muchos países yo voy encontrando que el sector de leasing se va encaneciendo más. Y una de las preguntas que uno se tiene que hacer, y es una que les quiero hacer a ustedes, es, la primera es, ¿cuánto tiempo creen ustedes que van a seguir trabajando en la misma compañía? ¿5 años? ¿10 años? Los que crean que van a trabajar 5 años más, que levanten la mano. Los que piensen que son más de 10, que levanten la mano. Bueno, ahora les hago otra pregunta. Los que piensen que su compañía va a sobrevivir más de 10 años, que levanten la mano. Son demasiado optimistas. ¿No vieron que ayer estábamos pasando revista a una serie de compañías? La verdad, no los quiero descorazonar, pero la mortalidad de las compañías Fortune 500 ha venido acelerándose de una manera impresionante. O sea, ¿cuántos se acuerdan, por ejemplo, de la compañía EMC? Ya no existe. Ahora es Dell. ¿Cuántos se acuerdan de Sun Microsystems? Claro, los que trabajan en Oracle, que fue la que se la tragó. ¿Sí? ¿Sí? Entonces, ese tema nos induce a pensar varias cosas. La primera de ellas es, ¿estamos preparando nuestra organización para que la organización no sobreviva? ¿Estamos nosotros siendo suficientemente generosos, digámoslo, de compartir los conocimientos y de ir entrenando a la generación que viene detrás nuestro? Y esa es una de las primeras preguntas que tenemos. Pero la segunda, y es precisamente el tema central de esta discusión, que por cierto, va a ser una discusión, y va a ser una discusión agresiva, y les pedimos que nos disculpen porque Chris y yo tenemos una tendencia natural, nos queremos mucho, pero peleamos mucho. Eso es algo que hacemos, y creo que lo hacemos bien de vez en cuando, ¿sí? El caso es que, obviamente, tenemos algunas diferencias de enfoque, de criterio, de cultura, y hoy por hoy tenemos la siguiente situación. Le hemos pedido a nuestros service providers, Daniel González, por favor, si nos puedes acompañar en la mesa principal, Joe Franco, por parte de NetSol, también si Joe está acá, y Daniel Bielsa, por favor, también, si nos pueden acompañar a la mesa principal. Ellos son, por decirlo así, nuestros testigos nuestros peritos, nuestros expertos en el tema tecnológico. Chris trae una causa. No. De una manera nosotros íbamos a disfrazar la campaña en la que él está. Es una campaña demostrando lo bueno y lo orgulloso que él está de lo que ha hecho con Lead Europe, de generar un programa para preparar a la próxima generación de líderes, ¿sí? Pero entonces ahí es donde precisamente viene el desafío. Y yo lo estoy desafiando. Yo lo estoy desafiando en el sentido de, en el mundo moderno y con las nuevas tendencias, con lo que vemos nosotros, yo les voy a dar un ejemplo. Mi hijo mayor es un millennial, nació en el año 82, y él se pone a mirarme con una cara socarrona y me dice, me lo dice en inglés, me dice, Dad, you work so hard, you need to learn how to work smart. O sea, trabajas mucho, debes aprender a trabajar inteligente. Y la verdad, les cuento, él trabajó un tiempo con nosotros y a mí me desesperaba que cuando yo lo veía, estábamos trabajando juntos, lo veía que estaba jugando con el PlayStation y le había encargado una cantidad de cosas para hacer. Oye, ¿qué pasó con este credit scoring? Teníamos que entregarle al cliente. Y me dice, ¿no has revisado tu casilla de email? Yo iba a revisarla. Y si él, mientras tanto, jugando sus marcianitos, sus Pokémones con el PlayStation. Y llego yo y miro y estaba todo hecho. Y agresivamente me puse a buscar un error y no lo encontré. Entonces me demostró que he works smart. Bueno, el tema es que nosotros en general no creemos mucho y no estamos invirtiendo en lo que viene en las segundas generaciones. ¿Cómo vamos a manejar nosotros el balance entre el hombre y la máquina? Esa es la pregunta central aquí. Chris va a defender al hombre. Chris va esencialmente a mostrar lo que hay que hacer con la generación de millennials para que nosotros nos adaptemos a eso. Pero por el otro lado, y con el apoyo de Roberto, vamos precisamente a proponer la robotización de las empresas de arrendamiento. A lo mejor lo que nosotros necesitamos es seguir nosotros siendo los que manejamos las cuerdas y en lugar de tener empleados, tengamos robots que nos manejen la operación. ¿Hasta dónde podemos llegar a combinar lo uno con lo otro? Es la pregunta central acá. Entonces, en ese orden de ideas, Chris, you have your opening speech, your opening argument.
I do. I think Raphael did this on purpose. If I was
Of
going
course,
to be
that's
so
part of the
wired,
idea.
at some point I would just explode. But okay, so look, as you know, I flew over from London on Monday, having flown pretty much around the world in the previous 2 weeks. So I arrived here tired, jet-lagged, hopefully awake for my session yesterday morning. But then, as Raphael said, we do fight a lot. And one of the little tricks that he likes to play is that all of a sudden, just as you're about to go and do a presentation, he will change the context. So we now have a courtroom where I am apparently going to be the highly paid London barrister to come and defend the cause of man against these guys who are for the prosecuting the cause of machines. So we'll do it that way. It's only meant me being up most of the night rewriting how I was going to do this. So thank you, Raphael. It's no problem. So members of the jury, which is how you're now going to be addressed, I'm going to be talking to you about the proponents of man, why man is superior to machine. I'm going to be talking to you about business processes, and we'll run through digitization. I'll talk slowly because these guys won't understand it. And then we're going to look at business processes and then leading into why it is so important that we have a human interaction. And then we're going to talk about millennials, and then I'm going to share you a little bit about the Future Group, which is a program that I run in Europe. Now, the defense is going to be calling a number of witnesses. I have evidence from Warren Buffett. I have evidence from Scott Olson of Getty Images. I will be calling evidence from Zappos, the shoewear company that's just been acquired by Amazon. I'll be calling witnesses from Airbnb and also Adobe.
They never match the quality of my witnesses. Never.
I also will be having, not here in the court, but I will be having written evidence from Netflix, which I think you will find to be overriding. Now, because having been briefed by the Secretary of State for Justice, one Mr. Rafael Castillo, and the Minister for Fun, Mr. Juan Dodds, I thought that, and they told me that you were a very intelligent and articulate and intellectual jury. So I'm going to not do what a normal barrister would do, is try and confuse you with lots of words on a screen. So I'm going to take you through this particular case using the words of Rudyard Kipling. And he had a saying that says, and this is very reminiscent of the courtroom, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I know. Their names are who and what and why and when and where and how. And I'm going to use this framework to take you through the arguments for the defense. Now, you might imagine that we need a little bit more detail than that, and I'm not going to try and confuse you, so this is the additional detail. The detail is really talking about, so firstly, why the question? Why are we talking about man versus machine? What does it mean? Why would you do it? Where would you invest? Would you invest in systems? Would you invest in people? So that's a framework that I'm going to use as we go through. And the reason, first of all, why the question is, as Raphael said in his opening remarks, if we look around the room, ignoring my grey hair for a start, that a lot of us will not be working in the industry in 10 or 15 years' time, just by a simple fact of evolution. But what I don't see in my part of the world, in Europe, which is why we started the Future program, is where is the investment in the new talent coming through? Where are the leaders of tomorrow? Where are the leaders of 2025, of 2030? Because now is the time we need to be investing. So it's quite an uncomfortable subject for a lot of people. But anyway, let's go into it. I'm going to start somewhere where you may feel a little bit more comfortable. And let's have a look at the normal, traditional business process cycle. Now, businesses will go through a startup phase when they're designing and implementing their original ideas, that we go through the core growth focus, which is the high impact stage. How is the business going? Is it being properly managed? What are the thoughts? We look at stabilization, and this is where the business is up and running, that we are looking at making sure the business is working properly. We're benchmarking against our competitors. Managing complexity when the business is actually now moving forward. How do you make it grow? Is organic growth enough? Do we need to do mergers and acquisitions to generate more bottom line revenues and profit? And then we look at the very bottom, which is outrageous really. At the very bottom of that stack is the thing about culture and people. And we'll talk about culture in a moment. And primarily, I'll be contrasting the culture of the millennial group and the characteristics and culture of the leasing industry. But I'll come back to you. But at the end of this presentation, ladies and gentlemen and members of the jury, you won't bother listening to these guys. Okay, so if we are looking at that process, the way you would go through those various stages, and I'm not going to get to the point where you're going to say boo to me because this is not a sales pitch, but it does reflect the amount of work that needs to be done to keep any business, once it's established, working through. And I'm sure that you are all familiar with that work, the stages, the checks that you go through. But it's hardly a beating heart. There's no personality, there's no culture in this. So when you start looking at things like process baselining, lean action to remove waste, it's not the thing that's going to excite too many people.
It does not.
Exactly.
I'm not excited.
No. Well, you've barely got a pulse, leave alone being excited. But these 4 stages are looking at process, machinery, mechanization that these guys represent. And there are basically 4 stages. And my comment to you is that in stage 1, this is where the business is starting. It's just got enough to survive. A basic process, a basic system. No input on strategy. That doesn't start to appear until stage 3, when you start to have some input where the business is becoming known for its process, and that process in stage 4 starts to have a difference on the way the company works and operates. Now, I spend my life, unfortunately, running up and down these stages and trying to make sure that it all works. But again, what has happened is that when we come to stage 4, when you start looking at where does process, where does mechanization feed into company strategy, the normal endpoint is digitalization. Now, digitalization has been a game changer for many companies. We've looked at the way in which we are dealing with straight-through processing, automation, workflow, middle office, all that good stuff. But actually, if you look at the bullet points at the bottom, despite all of the advantages, digitization does not add that much. Those companies that rely wholly on digitization are missing a trick. This is why we need people. Companies and processes are most likely to be able to upsell where there is a human interaction. That customers understandably prefer to talk to people. Now, I'm not so much of a Luddite to say that there can never be any advance on that, but, members of the jury, what I am saying to you is there will be a process which Raphael was talking about yesterday, in which these guys would try and pick up on, called artificial intelligence. Raphael is the closest person I know that represents artificial intelligence.
Well, I have an objection, by the way.
You do. I thought you might.
And my objection is the following. You are putting too much importance to processes. That, in a way, is creating a mechanization of human beings. Mm-hmm. I believe, and I will encourage my witnesses to support me, that one of the advantages of machine learning today is that you don't need to rely on processes. Reality changes very often. If not, please ask Donald Trump how reality changed his life.
You know, I thought we were going to get through at least the morning without mentioning the Donald, but anyway, there we go. Okay.
Anyway, I would like to ask, based upon experience, we have been, and Joe, probably you can start because you have been teasing us with all these augmented reality devices that you have. So don't you think that a machine can really overcome the needs of processes in a leasing company and just be adapted to anything that, for example, Carolina was explaining this morning, all these challenges? Is something that you believe it can be done?
First, I'm going to disagree with the premise of man versus machine. There was a long time ago when I first started in the industry, gray hair, and I had hair at that point. It was a machine. You turned it off, you turned it on. Every time you left work and you came to work, you picked up a piece of paper, you entered it, and then you picked up that same piece of paper and put it into another process. Or you did everything manually. But as we've discussed, now it's changed. Now there's business workflow engines that can actually replace a person. While we don't really want to displace people, but we do make ourselves more efficient. We eliminate the need for human error. And so consequently, once we get to the point of digitizing, and that is a cost savings for you, certainly human interaction is always required. But it's a lot easier to be able to interact with them if you can virtually see the equipment that you're wanting to buy. And so I'm not going to say human interaction isn't necessary. I want to recast it by saying it's not a machine anymore. It's actually a functional tool set that helps you sell, that helps you do your business, that automates your business. And I'm not going to talk about processes, I'm going to talk about process. And so as a result, I think that the process automation is a cost savings. Even mobility tool sets. There's a Capgemini study that talks about it's $7 per call that comes into your customer service center. But in a mobility set, and as we've discussed, millennials are always on a toy. People want to be able to look at their information on their iPhone or their iPad. And that cuts your cost, your overhead cost, to about 3 cents per call. So the combination of the two, since automation has taken us to the point of workflow engines and iPhones and iPads, yes, somebody has to design the process, but the software has to support the process. And now with today's technology, I think the software can, in fact, support the process, and that gives you the ability to deploy your manpower in a different manner.
My witness backfired.
I think the case is already lost, to be honest, but there we go.
Let me try with the other two witnesses.
Is this the best you got?
Yes. Daniel, can be in Spanish or English, your choice.
Bueno, I'll answer in Spanish, since most people here speak Spanish. Creo que sí es una combinación de ambas cosas, ¿no? Del capital humano y la tecnología. ¿Cómo usamos la tecnología? ¿Cómo usamos las herramientas de Business Intelligence, por ejemplo, Data Marts? La usamos para responder preguntas, ¿no? O sea, cómo minimizamos riesgos, cómo podemos vender más productos, cómo podemos que los camiones no se nos choquen en la curva peligrosa, ¿no? Utilizamos todos estos datos, esta información, para resolver esas preguntas, ¿no? A medida que va pasando el tiempo, creo que estas preguntas se van volviendo más obvias y creo que la tendencia es que la misma información, o sea, va llegando al punto de que las preguntas son más obvias, el rol de la persona va decreciendo y de la tecnología nos va a entregar esas respuestas más claramente, ¿no?
That's my witness.
Yeah, okay. So there are lots of questions. Yeah, I get it. But
You have the right to cross-interrogate if you want.
yeah. Not in Spanish, thank you.
But let me. Oh no, you should.
I'm just going to make my case in a different way. And to be honest, one of my millennial groups in Europe is actually going to come to the aid of these guys in terms of processing. So I'll.
Speaking about Europe, Daniel is from Europe, so.
And a
Daniel
millennial.
Oh.
Sí. Yo soy un millennial y curiosamente han dicho que prefieren hablar la gente con gente. Yo he estado en una mesa donde se han puesto en el WhatsApp a hablar entre ellos y mandar grupos y se reían todos y digo, hemos llegado a un momento que estamos conectados a la tecnología de tal forma que queremos buscar la solución directamente. Ya no queremos llamar a un teléfono, estar 2 horas hablando con una persona que ni sabe de qué le hablamos. Si podemos entrar a una página web, al portal como clientes de leasing, podemos encontrar respuesta, ver los tiempos, ver los litros que hemos consumido. No tenemos que llamar a nadie, lo tenemos en un portal web y no tenemos que perder el tiempo, que es una como comentó Rafael, que su hijo tiene la percepción diferente de lo que es perder el tiempo. Él prefería estar jugando a la consola y perder el tiempo era trabajar de más, ¿no? Es lo contrario, para Rafael era que su hijo estaba perdiendo el tiempo y para su hijo era que le estaba haciendo perder el tiempo. Entonces son conceptos diferentes, que es a lo que está cambiando la tecnología. Vamos a servicio al cliente mucho más eficiente y que nuestro cliente pueda encontrar la solución directamente y la respuesta a sus preguntas en una página web.
Okay, well, I agree with some of that.
You do? Okay.
Now, let me just go back to this thing about millennials. Let's move on. Where do you place your bet? How important are systems? How much time do we as an industry spend on evaluating systems? Versus how important are people? And actually, how much time do we spend in recruiting, interviewing, finding the right employees. And I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail in a moment. And which is the most important? And I guess that I've got to concede one point to my prosecution witness about that actually probably neither are the most important. But the fact is that people versus a machine will make a difference to your company. Machines will make sure that things happen in terms of processing, and things will get billed, paid out, collected, documented, etc. But actually, it's people who will make the difference. I don't know whether you're familiar with the terms of what is your system brand and an employee brand. System brand is effectively, what are you known for as a company? Are you known for what you do, or are you known for how you do it? Now, there are some companies like Amazon, for example, are known as being a first-rate online supplier. But they're more known, they're better known for their systems as to how they do what they do. All right, so it's the underlying processes that means you can order something online now and it will be with you potentially by drone tomorrow. So that's what I mean by a system brand, because you don't know what systems they use, but you know their systems are absolutely perfect. An employee brand is where your employees are representing you, but in the widest sphere. Systems don't go to parties and talk about the jobs that they do. Systems don't go to parties or cocktail parties and say, my employer is great, or my employer is not so great. So that's what we mean by an employee brand. What does your employee say about you? Not just physically say about you, but actually how are you seen to be represented? Raphael is a typical consultant. He's smart, intelligent.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I almost gave him a compliment. But if you are looking at business consultants, they look like this. They look like Raphael, they look like me. If we turned up in jeans and a t-shirt, you might think, actually, these guys are maybe really, really good, or actually, they haven't had any work lately and they can't afford to have their suits cleaned. No. Oh. Okay.
So, as an employee brand, and you're at a party, how often do people pull out their phones, technology, and show pictures of their family? Or, as an employee and you're attending and you find somebody you want to do business with, don't you, if you had an online application, which is technology, wouldn't you submit their names and send them your website?
Yeah, but that's just technology as an enabler. You need a human interaction to actually make the connection, don't you?
Well, but then the human could be the enabler.
Oh, I agree. The human is the enabler.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Well,
Well,
I think it's a good point. I'm sorry, but look at the room. Look across the room. Everyone has a machine in front of them. Everyone.
No. I'm not. Listen, I am not saying machines are redundant. I am not saying that we should no longer invest in anything, which is particularly good news for those clients of mine which are technology companies. But what I am saying is we don't have the balance right. For too long, this industry has been ignoring the recent past and absolutely ignoring the immediate future. And the immediate future is people, not machines. Now, let's talk about people. Millennials. All right, we all know one. We've either got one or we know somebody that's got one. And there's quite a few in the audience, so I'm not going to be as rude as I intended to be, because you can all run faster than I can. So a millennial, Generation Y, or the we generation, all right, WE stands for nothing more than selfish. So what is in it for me? What shall I do? What can we do? So millennials are generally defined as being born between 1980 and 2000. I'm speaking as an expert on the basis that I've got two at home just like that. Definition of an expert: X is a has-been, spurt is a drip under pressure. So, if I asked you to give me some characteristics of a millennial, what sort of words would you come up with, members of the jury? What do you think they are? Are they bright, articulate, lazy, want something for nothing? As far as I'm going to go with you guys in the front row. These, I'm going to show you the characteristics of millennials, and I've pinched this from a lady called Lydia Abbott, who was fed up. She is a millennial, and she was fed up with trying to define what Generation Y is. So she posted a blog in April 13. So this is the characteristics of millennials by a millennial. So you can see that they are defined themselves as multitaskers, connected, tech-savvy, want instant gratification and recognition. Beginning to ring some bells? Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, you can say yes. They want a work-life balance, less work, more life generally. They're collaborative, they are transparent, and they absolutely do want career advancement with the sort of aggression that I'm enjoying today. I want to be chief exec tomorrow. So if that is the characteristics of millennials, what are we as an industry doing to make our industry attractive to them? And the answer is not a lot. Look at the asset finance and leasing industry characteristics. And for these purposes, this industry was born in about 1950. It underwent its last transformation in terms of innovation, generally, in 1979.
I have a question here to the jury, because I'm going to challenge the impartiality of the jury. ¿Cuántos de ustedes nacieron entre el 50 y el 79? Here you go. You got it. Partiality.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to run through those same characteristics of millennials with the characteristics of the leasing industry, and there you will see the problem. Multitasking? No. The industry tends to be more focused. Connected? Well, no, we're more relationship driven. We tend to do lunch rather than be completely connected in.
I consider that to you, coffee break driven. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are we tech savvy? Well, how do you turn it on? Are we, do we want instant gratification and recognition? No.
Excuse me for a second, but how many people here, your companies, how many do you have websites?
Microphone on.
Oh, microphone.
Microphone.
How many of you have websites? And do you receive applications through that website? So they are connected.
How do you know?
Because they just told me.
No. So I was responding to the question, how many people come to the websites? So
How many businesses you have closed through the website?
How many? Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Or just silly questions?
Pardon me?
Or just receiving silly questions?
Oh, wow. How many people have frequently asked questions on your website?
we're going to come back to that because one of my millennials has solved that problem as well without the help of machines. Okay, so instant gratification, no. The industry wants people to be patient. You've got to earn your stripes. You've got to be able to put the time in. Are we work-life balance? Yeah, what balance? What the hell is balance? Are we collaborative? Yeah, of course we are. Once we trust the other person, and that trust is earned over a number of years. Are we transparent? Yeah, absolutely transparent. Once trust is established over a number of years. And career advancement, well, you see, we're all about training. One step at a time. Learn to do the job. Then you can go to the next job. And then after that, after many, many years and your hair's turned grey, you can become a chief executive or a consultant.
That's when you fail.
Yeah, that's when you know that times are really tough. Okay, so let's have a look then at, so if that's the difference between our industry and millennials, what do we do? Let's look at it from the culture aspect. And here I'm going to start drawing in some evidence. What is the culture that you would expect to see describing the leasing industry? Foundation words: strong, innovative, sometimes, dedicated, driven, customer-focused, ambitious. Right? That's what we would generally expect to see on a list of, if we were playing the game, give me the culture. Well, have a look at these companies. Zappos. Their culture is described by them: fun, weird, positive, passionate. We're all about growth. Airbnb, one word describes their culture: adventure. That's the whole point of being Airbnb. It's to get you to places you wouldn't normally go. Have some adventure. Get in. Adobe, their one-word culture: involved. They want to be totally involved in your business. They want to be totally involved in your life. So if this, and this is a millennial-type culture conversation. Netflix, written evidence from Netflix. Simply, their culture is: we seek excellence. Of some of the words you'd expect to see up there are integrity, communication, respect, and excellence. All right, pretty strong words, actually. You'd expect to see that on a brass plaque in a bank. Do you know where those four words appeared? In a big American corporate.
Enron.
Enron. That is the brass plaque culture words from Enron Corporation. Netflix go on to say that as far as they're concerned, they have 7 aspects of their culture. All right, now bearing in mind, they are recruiting and employ millennials by the 100. Their 7 aspects are: values are what we value, that we want to see high performance, we want freedom and responsibility, we want context, not control. Crikey, no control in a bank or a leasing company. We are highly aligned but loosely coupled. And I'll talk about that in a moment. That we pay top of the market for every employee. And when we're recruiting, we pay top of the market, and on our annual pay reviews, we pay top of the market for that individual in that job. They're also quite good at getting rid of people, but they do it in a way that they say average performance gets a high severance package. So what they want to do is to make sure that the millennials who don't quite fit within the culture leave happy.
By the way, in your materials, you have a 127-slide presentation that contains all that information. So if you want to take a look in your flash drive, but you can do that now if you want, or you want to keep paying attention to what he says.
Why would you do it now and spoil the show? Okay. So let's have a look at strategy. All right, now, Raphael said yesterday morning, you should be able to, in the same way you can do your culture in 5 words, you should be able to do strategy for your company in 35 words. All right, relax, we're not going to do it now because we're here all afternoon. But again, if you are attracting millennials, you need to be on it. We need to be sharp. Now, let's look at employees as millennials. You may still think, or we may still think as an industry, that we select employees. That's not the case for millennials. They select us. Don't think you've got any choice. Now, one of my first witnesses, my personal witnesses, is Warren Buffett. And irrespective of some of the views in the room about Warren Buffett, he is apparently universally regarded as knowing what he's doing. Square brackets like Donald. Sorry, couldn't resist it. Now,
exactly the same.
his hiring strategy is just 3 words. He will hire you on integrity, intelligence, and energy. That's the only 3 things he's looking for. Now you think about some of the application processes and forms that we go through to bring people in. I mean, Christ, you'd die in the attempt. I think if I was trying to apply to join the industry today, I wouldn't get in, which Raphael would probably say would be a good thing, but there we are.
Absolutely.
So, from Warren Buffett's strategy, if you haven't got these 3 things, if you haven't got the first one, you're hiring people who are dumb and lazy. Now, Scott Olson, my second personal witness of Getty Images, picks up the same theme. And on those 3 words, he is saying these things. Low integrity with high intelligence and high energy just means that you're recruiting a pretty fast-moving thief. See, notice that the machine guys have gone quiet. If you've got somebody who's low energy, but actually has got high intelligence and high integrity, well, he's more of a shopkeeper, not an engine of growth. So he or she is not going to drive your business forward. But if you've got somebody of low intelligence with high energy and high integrity, then actually you're going to have somebody who's okay, but he's going to be a bit of a functioner. It's just functionary. Not going to drive your business forward at all. So why are those 3 things picked up by Warren Buffett? And these are the reasons why. And he's very clear about his motivation. Integrity, without integrity, there can be no trust. When someone is untrustworthy, it impacts every aspect of their life, work and social, etc., etc. Intelligence, well, there's too many types of intelligence. It's not just registered by degrees or diplomas. All right? Millennials would have us believe there's all sorts of emotional intelligence. We've got to be emotionally connected. So-called. And energy. Not the fastest talker and not the fastest walker, but actually someone with high mental energy, someone who arrives at meetings prepared, somebody who is connected, somebody who is on it, who will thrive in the company of like-minded individuals.